Good day everyone, presenting you about the materials for developing reading skills, alternative approach to materials for teaching reading, Amores, Julianes, Endico, Kalipayan, Katamco, Galicia. These are the Group 3 BSED English.
Hi guys, I am Giselle from Edu2B and today I will be discussing to you about the materials on how we can learn and develop our reading skills. So first we have the reading comprehension skills. And when we say reading comprehension skills, it is the ability to understand and interpret the text you are reading. It also involves processing the words and understanding the meaning and integrating it with previous knowledge. So guys, when you are reading some article or any type of written text, did you already got the main idea in quick, or you have to read it again for the sake of your understanding? Well, based on research, the most effective way for this type of skills are these following. First, we have the activating prior knowledge. Teachers need to first find out what students know and balance out their background knowledge before presenting a new topic. When students are provided opportunities to link their own experiences and knowledge to new information, they are better able to comprehend text. However, they need direct instruction about how to make connections between the text and themselves. The word another text, so this will help them to make the connections and sustain their motivation to continue to read. So second, we have cooperative learning. So students can benefit from reading and discussing what they read with peers. Cooperative learning strategies can help create a positive classroom environment. Build student-to-student interactions, allow them to share strategies and ideas, and facilitate discussions that can support comprehension. So third is using graphic organizers. Comprehension is an abstract process. It has to become visible in order for students to learn how to construct meaning from text. Graphic organizers can help students organize information and identify how ideas are related to each other. So these organizers can take the form of charts, graphs, pictures, or other graphics that help students organize information. And of course, visualizing. So visualizing involves students making mental images of the text they read. Example, the process of events, creating images that relate to the setting, characters, or plot of the narrative text. Or a concept or processes in the expository text can help students better recall what they have to read. And we also have the asking and generating questions. So questioning is effective for improving comprehension because it gives students a purpose for reading, motivates them to continue to read, focuses attention on what must be learned, helps to develop active thinking while reading, and monitors, of course, comprehension. So generating questions promotes students' interaction with the text. It also helps the students to review content, make inference, and relate that. So those are the following types of skills to make your reading comprehension become more effective and useful. And now we go to the next reading material, which is the language-based approach. So this approach represents where literary texts are viewed as means of helping learners to develop language skills and proficiency. And it also facilitates students' responses and experience with literate, and it is considered quite accessible for language learners. A language-based approach is quite a broad approach which covers a range of different goals and procedures. Generally speaking, this approach focuses on a closer integration of language and literature in the classroom. Since this will help the students in achieving the main aim, which is to improve their knowledge of and proficiency in English. So in this type of reading materials, it also has the techniques and procedures to enhance more the ability of the learners. Firstly, to enable students to make meaningful interpretation of the text itself. Secondly, to expand students' knowledge and awareness of the language in general. Thus, although the aim of using stylistics is to help students to read and study literature more competently. It also provides them with excellent language practice. So for the language learners, stylistics has the advantage of illustrating how particular linguistics forms function to convey specific messages. Stylistic analysis can also provide a way of comparing different types of texts, literary or non-literary. So in order to ascertain how they fulfill different social functions, for example, students may be asked to compare the description of a character in a novel with information about someone given in a letter of reference or in a medical form. So the students will then be able to examine how these texts differ and the reasons for this difference. So the teaching of literature can thus be integrated more fully into the classroom, since literary text can be studied alongside other kinds of texts. So those are some techniques and strategies on how we can develop our comprehension and language skills in a more productive way. And thank you for listening, guys, and have a good one.
For number 3, the skill or strategy based approach. So, skill learning versus knowledge learning. Skill learning is a learner's acquire the sensor, motor, and cognitive abilities necessary for using a language in an accurate, fluent, and appropriate manner. While knowledge learning learns words in TL consciously and verbally. Skill acquired ability which has been optimized and operates largely subconsciously. Strategy conscious procedure carried out in order to solve a problem. So, when we say skill learning, it is a method established on the improvement of ability set over a profession. It is a development in 4 degrees, which is the planning, building, presenting, and validating. Each stage has proposed approaches to reap it as objectives. The beauty of the skill-based method is the simplicity and flexibility. Skill-based learning. It is where students can learn a specific skill, and also students can achieve a correct answer in every instances that they see the same skill. This involves activities like simulations, where students or training participants physically practice the skills they are learning. So when we say skill strategy, it identifies the skill and your talent to optimize hiring and developing goals. So this involves 6 learning skills such as our work habits like responsibility, initiatives, organization, independent work, collaboration, and also the self-regulation. So for number 4, the schema-based approaches. It is a theory about knowledge in the mind, including it hypothesizes how knowledge is organized in the mind and how it is used in processing new information. So second is the comprehension happens when a new experience is understood in comprehension with stereotypical version of a similar experience held in memory. Like the reading process cannot be explained without acknowledging the what importance of knowledge systems is reader's mind. So when we say schema, it is a cognitive framework of concepts that helps organize and interpret information. Schemas can also be useful it becomes because they allows us to take shortcuts in interpreting the vast amount of information that is available in our environment. So, what is schema theory? It is a branch of cognitive science concerned with how the brain structures knowledge. So, a schema is an organized unit of knowledge for a subject or event. It is based on past experiences and assists to guide current understanding action. So, schema-based learning. It is a central theoretical approach in cognitive and educational psychology as well as our artificial intelligence. So, schemas also allows learners to reason about unfamiliar learning situations and interpret situation in terms of their generalized knowledge.
Alternative approach for teaching reading.
Good day everyone, I am Marjorie Salatayo. Now let's talk about the principle 1. Engaging affects should be the prime concern of reading materials. Good text works on learner's affect, which is vital for deep processing and creates reason and motivation to read. An affect is occasionally mentioned in the literature as a peripheral factor, but the engagement of affect, example, interest, attitudes, and emotion, should be given prime importance in reading materials production. Neuroscience is the study of the central nervous system, the study of the brain. Which provide evidence that emotion casts a powerful influence on cognition, learning, and memory. Emotionally charged memory makes an instant and strong impression, and it stays in our memory for a long time. In reading, the same proficient L1 and learning 1 reader may process the same text differently on separate occasions depending on his or her emotion state and the interest and significance he gives to the text at the time. Principle number 2. Listening to a text before reading. It helps decrease linguistic demands and encourage learners to focus on meaning. Talal 2003. The brain is programmed to process the sensory world, turn that into phonological representations, and turn those into syllable words and ultimately allow us to develop a written code, which is the orthography or letters that go with those sounds. That's all. Thank you.
So, good morning everyone. My name is Kyla Marie and Galicia from BSED Eduk Tubi. And for today's video, I will discuss the reading comprehensions means creating the multidimensional mental representation in the reader's mind. So, when we say mental representation, it is a series of snapshots or movie-like dynamic image with possibly sounds and smell as well as. And what have created in the minds of the readers. Each reader's representation is dynamic and unique, depending on the individual's mental state, mood, experience. So, yung mental representation po is, ito yung mga larawan na i-deliver natin sa bawat mambabasa natin. Like yung tunog, yung pang-amoy, ganun po. And each reader representation is dynamic and unique. So, bawat mambabasa natin ay may iba-ibang representation and unique mindset. Depende na lang po sa individual mental state. So, depende sa kanilang mga isip and kung paano mag-deliver yung kanilang mga utak pagdating sa pagbabasa. Dito rin po nabubuo yung mood nila tsaka yung mga experience pagdating sa pagbabasa. So, meaning, constructions in a reader-listener mind is achieved in a multidimensional way, deriving from the integrated neural interactions of the various parts of the brain, sensory, motor, cognitive, and emotional systems. So, ibig sabihin po nito is, bawat mambabasa natin, bawat nakikinig sa atin, ay nakaka-achieve ng multidimensional way. Like po yung various parts of the brain, nakakabuo po sila ng sensory, cognitive, and emotional systems. Ganun po. So, let's move in the principle number 4. The materials should help learners experience the text first before they draw their attention to its language. So, reading materials offer activities that help learners focus on the content of the text and achieve personal experiences of it. Through multidimensional representation, by experiencing the text, learners are able to activate the sensory, motor, emotional, cognitive areas of the brain. So, yung mga materials po na ginagamit natin ay nakakatulong sa mga mag-aaral na maka-experience ng activate the sensory motor. So, yun po, nakakatulong po ito sa pagbuo ng mga iba't ibang experience and mga sense sa mga utak ng mga mag-aaral. Like po yung emotional nila, at saka po yung nabubuo rin po rito yung cognitive areas of the brain. So, let's move to the self-project and self-invest in the activities which lead to the deeper processing and fuller engagement. So, yan. Pag sinabi po natin self-project and self-invest, yung mga mag-aaral po, nakakabuo po sila ng, or nakakapag-invest po sila ng mga natututunan nila sa kanilang mga utak na which leads na humahantong sa mga emotional, cognitive areas for the brain. So, dito na po nabubuo yung mga natututunan nila sa kanilang mga utak. So, have time to make errors and adjustments in connecting verbal codes with non-verbal mental representations. Have time talk to themselves in their L1. So, nakakabuo po sila ng time para kausapin yung sarili nila, like po yung mga natutunan natin sa L1. So, have time to develop inner speech in the L2 before publicly speaking out or writing. So, nakakabuo rin po sila ng mga oras or nakaka-develop din po sila ng inner speech like in the L2 bago po sila makapagsalita ng actual or makapagsulat ng actual. So, nakakapagbuo na po sila ng mga bagay na sa isip nila na kung ano po yung mga sasabihin nila at saka mga isusulat. That's all. Thank you.
Good day. I'm Mary Grace Amaras for the continuation of the report. These are the 5 tips on how to teach reading. Number 1, teach the alphabetic principle. Understanding the letters represents the sounds of our language. Knowing the different sounds of the alphabet, like the consonants and the vowels, and also the different basic concepts of the letters, like the diphthongs, and also the short and long vowel, and the blending, and also relate the sounds with the letters. Use the sounds to develop the words teach the students to decode. These are the examples. Just for example, cup. In the word cup, it has the three sounds like ka, pa. So it creates or develops the words cup. Diba? These are the used sounds to develop the word. And also in the alphabetic principles, knowing the different deep sounds. Just for example, the word boy. Also, we can use the diphthongs oi, diba? And also the blended. Just for example, the two letters like S and H, we blend it as one sounds like sh, diba? Something like that. And also knowing the isolation of the word. Just for example, the word hat, we isolate the hat like ha, t, diba? By the pronouncing the different sounds, we isolate the sounds in a word. Something like that. And for the next, number 2 is teach phonemic awareness. What is phonemic? Phonemic, it's the sounds of awareness, diba? It has the ability to hear and use the individual sounds. Just for example, the word cup, diba? The sounds of ka, pa, diba? By hearing the different sounds in the word or the individual sounds in a word, we recognize the phonological awareness. Or, just for example, phonological awareness. What is phonological awareness? It is the ability to the readers to recognize the sounds of the spoken language, how the sounds isolate. Like for example, that I was says before, that isolate, just for example, is hot. We isolate as ha, t, diba? So, by isolating or by blend, just for example, the word shake, diba? We blend the letter s and ha. Then we blend as one sounds as sh, diba? Something like that. And also by manipulate the sounds. It's recognizing the manipulate the sounds. These are the phonological awareness. Just for example, from the word house, we change the first letter or the consonant on the first word. Like we change it from the letter H, we change it to the letter M. Like mouse, diba? How, from house, we manipulate the sounds as mouse, diba? Something like that. And also, teach phonemic awareness is learn how to spell the sound out of diagrams. What is diagrams, diba? Diagrams is the two letters that combine together. Just for example, another again, is the letters of the S and the letters of H, diba? For the letter S, we sound is S, diba? And for the letter H, we sound ha, diba? If we combine it together, we make out of the diagrams like sh, diba? These are the examples of diagrams like sh. Mga ganun siya. And for the examples of the sounds of the diagram is sharp, shake, yan, something like that. Okay. Learn numerous rules that our language follows. Learn how we construct the sentence and how the sounds pattern produce sounds correctly. Or being aware on the IPA, how to read the word correctly, and also knowing the different sounds in phonemic awareness. It helps a lot. Something like that. And God bless. Thank you for your listening.
Now let's proceed to the third tip on how to teach reading. Number 3, teach reading fluency. Reading fluency refers to the ability to read text quickly, accurately, and with proper expression. A fluent reader demonstrates an automatic and effortless ability to read words and text that is connected. So when a student can read as though they were speaking, they read fluently. So students who have not yet developed fluency read slowly, word by word. This means their oral reading is choppy because fluent readers do not have to concentrate on decoding the words. They can focus their attention on what the text means. They can make connections among the ideas in the text and their background knowledge. In other words, fluent readers recognize and comprehend at the same time, while less fluent readers, however, must focus their attention on figuring out the words, leaving them little attention for understanding the meaning of the text. Now, here are the 5 strategies for fluency. Number 1, make use of a variety of books and materials. For example, if a student has difficulty with reading, it can be even more of a struggle to practice with material that is not of interest to them. Sometimes all it takes is getting readers excited about a topic to help them lose themselves in the activity. Try chapter books, comics, and poems, and even picture books can work as long as the student doesn't receive the material. As being below their level, experiment with texts of different lengths, starting with shorter material and gradually working up to longer pieces where fluency is concerned. So in here, we emphasize the quality of students' reading, not the quantity of pages or speed at which they read them. Number 2, have them read the same thing several times. When you're trying to improve fluency, it helps to see the same text multiple times. Each reading becomes easier and motivation goes up as students experience enhanced fluency thanks to repeat exposure to words and phrases. It can also help when it comes to developing comprehension skills, as readers have more opportunities to notice contextual cues. Number 3, ask kids to use a ruler or finger to follow along. Recoding is easier when students don't lose their place as they move across a page. It's up to the individual student how they go about this. Some might want to use a pen or pencil, others a piece of paper that they move down to cover the bottom of the page and stay focused on the sentence in front of them. And also, this is a good strategy for readers with ADHD because it involves a kinesthetic element. Number 4. Try different font and text sizes. If there's a visual impairment that is causing some of the difficulty, reading larger text or text printed on color-tinted paper can sometimes make things easier. There are specific fonts which are more appropriate for anyone with learning difficulties, including dyslexia, because they help with discerning letters and decoding language. Number 5. Create a stress-free environment. Once students are enjoying a book, anxiety and stress are reduced and fluency is enhanced. It's also possible to foster a relaxing environment by removing any deadlines, time limits, or assessment related goals and just focusing on classroom reading for reading's sake. Number 5, create a stress-free environment. When students are enjoying a book, anxiety and stress are reduced and fluency is enhanced. It's also possible to foster a relaxing environment by removing any deadlines, time limits, or assessment related goals and just focusing on classroom reading for reading's sake. Okay, now let's proceed to the fourth tip on how to teach reading. Now let's proceed to the fourth tip on how to teach reading. Number 4, teach sight words or high frequency words. Sight words are the most common words we use in a written language. Many times, these words are difficult to decode because they don't follow the typical phonics rules, and these words have to be memorized. Also, there is a list of sight words that can be beneficial to your students. These are the Fry list and Dolch list. Sight words are common words that schools expect kids to recognize instantly. Words like the, it, and they appear so often at the beginning. Readers reach the point where they no longer need to try to sound out these words. They recognize them by sight. Building up a large base of sight words help kids become faster, more fluent readers. When kids master a sight word, they no longer have to pause to blend its letter sounds together. And then they don't have to think about spelling rules. Now let's get back to the Fry list. So the Fry list words means a list of words that is more modern list than the Dolch list and was extended to capture the most common 1,000 words. Dr. Edward Fry developed this expanded list in the 1950s. and updated it in 1980 based on the most common words to appear in reading materials used in grade 3 to 9. These are the examples of sight words list. Okay. Now, let's proceed to the Dolch sight word list. The Dolch sight word list includes the most common 220 words and 95 nouns encountered in children's books. Dolch words or sight words are critical in early reading development because they represent high frequency words and are difficult to sound out or to illustrate. Number 5, teach reading comprehension. So, successful readers can extract useful information from the text they read. Traditional comprehension activities are essential when teaching students how to read. You can evaluate reading comprehension using class discussions, book reports, worksheets, and even in class skits based on reading material. However, your students' comprehension skills will not improve unless they are reading fluently. So make sure that you don't spend all your time teaching comprehension. So when you are teaching reading comprehension, you also need to make sure that your students can read fluently. Okay, now here are the 5 reading strategy to improve the reading comprehension of a student. Number 1, activating background knowledge. Research has shown that better comprehension occurs when students are engaged in activities that bridge their old knowledge with the new. Like, for example, a simple question like, "What do you know about?" will stimulate students. Previous knowledge of that topic will help them to think of the things that they have learned about it. This will also help them to connect the current reading to their already existing knowledge and make the new reading more stimulating and engaging. The strategy allows students to work their way up from an already existing schema instead of starting a new one. Number 2, encourage students to frame questions before and after reading to increase their comprehension. Each student should be able to reflect on 3 main questions, namely, a right now question, an analytical question, and a research question. Right now question focuses on the material presented, like what is the essence of the material read and what are the facts that are being mentioned. While an analytical question requires students to ponder over what they have learned. What does the author want me? Like, for example, what does the author want me to understand from this material? Then a research question encourages the students to look for information beyond what is in the text. This allows for more comprehensive, active learning to occur. Number 3, analyzing text structure. This requires students to learn how to analyze or comprehend the structure of a text. Students are taught to identify the pattern which writers organize their material. This might be in the form of cause-effect pattern, problem solution pattern, or a descriptive pattern like a list, web, or a matrix pattern. Understanding the pattern in which the material is presented allows the students to comprehend the information better. It is important to teach all the patterns of a text structure to the student, as each structure is different and takes time to learn. Number 4, visualization. The fourth strategy stresses on the importance of visualizing material. Students should be encouraged to form visual images in their head as they read the text, which will help in better comprehension. Also, research suggests that students should visualize them as structural images or diagrams instead of mere pictures, as pictures have tendency to fade. Okay, for the fifth strategy, 5, summarizing. The last technique is to summarize the material read. Research has indicated that the ability to summarize enhances comprehension. Black and Presley defined summarize as the ability to delete irrelevant details, combine similar ideas, condense main ideas, and connect major themes into concise statements that capture the purpose of a reading for the reader. A student making use of the other 4 strategies will find it easier to summarize the materials. They can summarize the material in the form of diagrams, either visually or in writing.
Okay, thank you for listening and God bless.